What's up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the certifiably suave Dr. Disaster, and it's wild that game journalists are so out of touch with reality that when they try to sell me on what they consider to be the positive features of a game, it often doesn't sway me at all. According to them, every AAA game that comes out has the best graphics ever, or the best gameplay ever. But oftentimes, if they don't like a game for some reason or another, that is a selling point for me, because when it comes to these journalists, my reaction to anything they say is basically,
"Who is this person who speaks to me as though I needed his advice?"
But now, before I go into what I mean by all this, a little context is required. I didn't play the original Death Stranding, so I admittedly don't know much about the franchise, which is why I haven't been discussing this upcoming sequel. That being said, a bit of information just came out, which now has me cautiously optimistic that this game might be worth supporting.
Don't give me hope.
Well, here it is, folks. The doofuses over at GameSpot just released their review of Death Stranding 2, and they gave it a 7 out of 10, because of course they did. Anytime there's a AAA game that these bozos don't know what to do with, that is the score that the game automatically gets, a 7 of 10. Not too low, so that if it ends up being well liked, they won't look too foolish, and vice versa. But they've got a list of good things and bad things about the game according to them, and if you look right here under the bad header, it says that the game has questionable tropes around women. Well, coming from a game journalist, that really perked up my ears, because this is generally their opinion on the subject of the fair sex.
I think women and semen don't mix. We knew what you think.
The funny thing is, I'm not really kidding at all. The opinions that these people have are so warped that if they say something bad about a game, I assume it's actually good. I'm going into it now assuming that questionable tropes around women means that there is at least one female character that actually looks like a woman in the game, and that they actually behave like a woman. Believe it or not, I'm actually fairly enthusiastic about a game which actually matches reality when it comes to the genders.
As far as he's concerned, you're just a pair of breasts that talk.
Ding, ding, ding! What do we have for her, Johnny?
Alright, me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I've begun uploading some content over onto Rumble as well, so make sure that you follow Dr. Disaster on that site too. But anyhow, let's take a peek at what we have going on with Death Stranding 2. Alright, so first of all, this journalist that was kinda sorta trying to shit on this game with their whining about questionable tropes around women, it should be noted that the same outlet who is saying this wrote a pretty favorable review about Dragon Age the Veilguard. Look here, they gave that game an 8 out of 10, and look what they said here about the character creator. According to them, the Dragon Age character creator is one of the best they've ever seen. Keep in mind that in this character creator, this image here shows you the largest that a female character's chest can be, with the slider moved over to the max, because the people who made this game had some extremely weird views on what makes a woman, to say the least. The point is, these people at GameSpot clearly have a worldview that is completely characterized and warped by progressive talking points anytime a female character looks even remotely attractive or behaves in a way that is even sort of traditionally feminine, these people will whine and complain because that goes against the messaging that they're trying to pump out. What they want are flat-chested, flat-assed broomstick women. With that in mind then, when I see something like this here, I consider it noteworthy in a good way. I consider this to be a ringing endorsement of the game, in fact. And there's another part of this review that caught my eye as well. Right here, the reviewer says that the game has repetitive story beats that are too close to the first game, and as someone who has grown extremely weary of game developers who stray too far from the elements of a story that we initially enjoyed, I actually consider this to be a positive development. Too many times, storytellers get it in their heads that they're much smarter than they think they are, and they try to subvert the expectations of the audience, and I walk away from a movie theater or a video game experience and I shake my head because they ruined the story. So what this tells me is that if someone out there is a fan of the original Death Stranding, then this new game isn't going to try to subvert you and completely recharacterize the story you enjoyed. This isn't going to be The Last of Us 2. And now, just to give you an idea as to how well this game might perform on the market when it comes out here, I've got some sales data that I want to share with you. As many of you likely know, for a while, I owned and operated a store that sold video games, and I developed contacts in the retail world with various people over the years. In fact, I have contacts with a few people who, collectively, have access to the sales data of nearly 50 retail stores that sell video games in heavily trafficked areas. Now, in those stores, what I like to do is look at pre-order data for various games and see how many copies of a game sell before launch, which gives us an idea as to how well the game will perform when it releases. Now, as a frame of reference, we are a few days removed from the release of Death Stranding 2, and when Dragon Age the Veilguard was a few days removed from its release, they had sold 86 pre-orders of that game across all of these stores, averaging out to less than 2 copies sold per location. And of course, we all know that game ended up flopping like crazy. As another frame of reference, Star Wars Outlaws, just before that game came out, sold 80 copies, so just a little less than Dragon Age, and once again, that is a game which ended up selling like shit. So that gives us a baseline expectation for games that end up selling poorly by AAA standards. Meanwhile, Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl is a pretty apt comparison for Death Stranding because it was exclusive to the Xbox in the same way that Death Stranding 2 is a PS5 exclusive. But anyhow, Stalker 2 sold 156 copies in these stores right before launch, despite being a Game Pass game, and they ended up announcing that they had sold 1 million units of this game in just a couple days. So, with all that context in mind, I asked my contacts about Death Stranding 2, and according to them, this game has sold 167 copies in all those stores, putting it roughly on pace with Stalker 2. Though it's worth noting that this game isn't available on PC right away, so sales might be blunted, but it's well ahead of the likes of Dragon Age and Star Wars Outlaws, which I will note that both of those games had massive marketing campaigns and were available on both Xbox and PlayStation right away at launch. In other words, it seems like this game, Death Stranding, has some reasonable interest from the gaming community. It looks like it might have some decent legs, but we'll see. In any case, I'm going to leave it there. Drop your contempt for the game journalists who don't know their heads from their butts, and let me know what you think about this game. Is it something that interests you? Drop your thoughts into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.